How's it going? Kind of a busy week. So today I was thinking, earlier today I was thinking maybe I would do something different. Brian over at Black Beans and Rice did one of these videos. He showed 10 albums by bands or artists that he's seen live in concert. And I've seen some others also do it. I don't know if Brian initially intended it to be a thread. He was just doing it, I think. But I figure I might do it. So, in a lot of the videos that I show, I think probably in almost all of them, at least some of the bands I actually have seen. I don't always talk about it. Like in the last video, I saw the High Llamas. It's all, you know, in the 90s, while many people were, contributing to society, I was pretty much just going to concerts all the time. So I've seen a lot of different, especially in the 90s and then beyond. That's primarily what I did for entertainment, was go to see shows. A lot of them, so the thinking here is that probably 98% of them nobody cares about, or only small amount of people would even care about. And a lot of those are things that I show normally. So in this, I was thinking I could just go really big, go like, not necessarily, but really like things that a lot of people would know, like Chemical Brothers, Alice in Chains, Tool when nobody cared, Dinosaur Jr., like big bands, Ween. I saw that country when they did that country album when they toured for that. Mojave 3, Luna, lots of things I've already shown. I've seen bad Flaming Lips. I've seen good Flaming Lips. I've seen great Flaming Lips. Other kinds of genres. On my 21st birthday, I saw Baba Mall, of all people. Lords of Acid. My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult. Frank Black, blah, blah, blah. So the rules I'm setting, I'm not going to show anything any artist that I've shown previously, and I'm only going to show LPs. If I showed CDs, it could get crazy. Or I already had a hard enough time doing this, like picking 10. And I decided to go with kind of more things that maybe more people might care about. Except for a few. So maybe you might care about 7 out of the 10. I'm shooting for 7 out of 10. And whatever. If we get there, we get there. If we don't, we don't. Through a lot of the 90s, I would often be able to see shows for free. And so a lot of times I would even see things I didn't really care about just because I could go. What would be an example of that would be Marilyn Manson. Some people might I don't really have a problem with Marilyn Manson, but I probably would not have gone if I had to pay. This would have been in a club at First Avenue in Minneapolis. And it was a spectacle. I mean, I'm glad I went. He was like, stabbing himself he broke a bottle and he was like stabbing himself in the stomach. That kind of stuff. I'm not even sure why I told you that. I also, I was once at a casino with my girlfriend at the time, and we were eating at a buffet, and every time the door opened to the buffet, you could hear Kenny Rogers. So it's almost like I saw Kenny Rogers also. if I can do this. So I saw, so this is going to be, you know, I feel like things that people are going to know. This is, I saw Lou Reed in 1972. It was pretty good. This is Berlin. I did not see Lou Reed in 1972, but I did see Lou Reed in the year 2000. It was in a theater in Minneapolis, I think the Orpheum Theater. I don't know why I'm showing this record. He was touring for it was the Ecstasy Tour. He was in good shape, and he was like the, you know, the coolest guy in the room. Sounded good. I'm not a huge fan of seeing live shows in that kind of a venue, but it was really cool. Closed with a couple songs from Transformer, Vicious, and Perfect Day. I think there was somewhat of a revival in interest because that Perfect Day song had kind of a resurgence in the late 90s. But anyway, Lou Reed is the first one I'm showing. So Smashing Pumpkins a couple times. Once was at, I think it was one of those Lollapaloozas, 1994. So shortly after this, Siamese Dream came out. I'm also not a huge fan of festivals. I was more so then. I was into it, but what you had there was they were playing, and I wanted to watch them play, and you got people dancing around. People started fires in wherever this, it wasn't a field, but in where people would stand, people started fires, dancing around the fires. Yeah. It was cool. Yeah. I'm not going to say the rest of the story, but anyway. This is Neil Young. I've seen him a few times. I guess one that I will discuss was another one of these traveling festivals. It wasn't Lollapalooza, it was Horde Fest or something. And I got to go because my friend he was like the marketing guy at, I'm not gonna go into all this. We got good like passes to go. And you know, he cranked out some hits. It was a good set. I can remember that day. It was so fucking hot. It was unbelievable. And there was no trees anywhere. It was, you know, an outdoor festival. It's unreal. Hot, humid. No trees. Every time my friend would come by, I think I was watching Morphine, the band Morphine, and he came over. I'm like, there's no trees anywhere. Beck was there. Kind of a redemption. The previous time I had seen him, he blew like hard. Among the worst shows I've ever seen. Well, in the bottom, one of the 50 worst shows I've ever seen for sure. This was redeeming. It was good. Ben Folds 5 was there. I saw some of these I wouldn't have actually even seen it. So there was Nowhere to Run, Nowhere to Hide. It was hot. But Neil Young was good. Notable for a 15-minute plus version of Down by the River to close. I saw Nirvana for this record in utero. So it was 1993, saw them in St. Paul. This is obviously a farewell tour. That would be one way to put it. The Breeders opened, and Breeders and Shona Knife opened. I saw the Breeders a bunch of times. And it was really awesome. It was kind of in an auditorium where there was like a balcony, and then on the floor we had auditorium tickets. But what we did was, so there's a group of friends that we all went. I think two of us traded our tickets outside for floor tickets, and then eventually what would happen is so me and another friend, we got the floor tickets for the opening bands, Shona Knife, Breeders, and then one of us would leave with the two tickets and give one ticket, the second ticket, to another friend. Eventually we were all on the floor, and let me tell you, it was not full. There were plenty of seats available. They had folding chairs that were attached, and when Nirvana came on, those things were flying everywhere. We were jumping over, there was a small area that was fenced off, that was standing only, right in the mosh pit, if you will, is what I think they probably actually referred to it as. And so, eventually we all had jumped the fence into that thing. But it's pretty cool to have seen Nirvana, don't you think? I don't know. Yeah, we stayed at that whole event was kind of memorable in that we took the following day off from school so that we could go and stay overnight in St. Paul, Minnesota and see Nirvana. Yeah, that's something. This is long. Saw Sonic Youth a bunch of times, but around the time this was released, notably, it was in Chicago. This was probably the 1995 Lollapalooza or something. 1985, I think so. And I know it was two different groups of friends of mine, and I think that a bunch of them left possibly after Pavement or after Cypress Hill. We saw Yo La Tengo. When they came on the first hit of feedback, it started to pour rain. And so, I don't know, we stood there in the rain for a little bit, but eventually it started to rain. It just kept raining harder and harder. Then this is another situation outside, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. It sounded good. I never seen them other times, Sonic Youth. What are you gonna do? Yeah, so I remember that and just sprinting back to wherever we parked. And yeah, I think this was the album they were touring probably, so this is 1994, I think it was 1995 in Chicago. Saw the Beastie Boys a bunch of times. They also played at Lollapalooza. I saw them with a Tribe Called Quest. I think that show was Tribe Called Quest and Money Mark. It's probably the most memorable one. There was a bunch of people that I knew that went. It was in a basketball arena. That's even worse than in a theater setting. But every time I saw them, I liked them. They were really great live. Beastie Boys. Again, saw Matthew Sweet a bunch of times. Sometimes it was good, and sometimes it was awful. I was in a store earlier and saw that they did, I didn't know this, but apparently on Record Store Day, because I wasn't here for Record Store Day, but they released a live concert. I think it's a live concert from the Blue Sky on Mars tour. I did not see Matthew Sweet on this tour. I saw him subsequently. But I did see the Blue Sky on Mars tour, and that is one among the worst shows. He was out of shape, sounded awful, and at that time I worked like I was a DJ, and so I actually mentioned that on the air, and I can remember some jackass calling in and telling me he was there and how awesome it was. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, man. It was really bad. I saw him later. The In Reverse tour, that In Reverse record is good. It's actually probably close to my favorite. And that tour was excellent. For whatever reason, there was one time was truly awful. One time, first time was pretty good, and then the last couple times were good. But anyway, Matthew Sweet. All right, Modest Mouse. Went to see Modest Mouse right before this record came out. This is Lonesome Crowded West, 1997. It came out late 1997. I think we saw them the month before, so they began touring. But we had heard this on an advance, so we knew it, and we knew them before. I had one friend that was insanely into Modest Mouse. This is their best record, and I don't think it's even close. I think even at the time when this came out, there used to be arguments. I think this is their best record. Anyway, and notable for that show, there was a Minneapolis band that opened, and then the band 764 Hero was the one that was touring with them. And after that, everybody left. There was probably, there was probably around 25 people there. This is a venue, 7th Street entry. I don't know how many people it holds. Maybe Jay Vinyl in the van. Go ask him how many people the 7th Street entry holds. He's been there. Maybe 200 people, 150, 200, something like that, around there. But this place cleared out. It was probably like a Tuesday or something like that, and like I sat on the end of the stage while Modest Mouse played. But it was a good show. I think they later became somewhat popular. I like Juliana Hatfield. I saw her for this tour. This is Only Everything. At this one, that was pretty full. First Avenue in Minneapolis, First Avenue main room. It's pretty full. I remember I went to the bathroom at the same time as she did, and what's notable is she has got to be over a foot shorter than I am. Like, she is very, very short. Standing next to her, she's very, very short. One of the early shows that I ever saw at that same place, because this is probably 1995. Yeah. In 1993, Juliana Hatfield 3. I also saw that show, and that was almost empty. And it was in the first, so this is a place that holds, I don't know, over 1,000, 1,200, something like that. And if you, I'm not going to say it because most people have never been there, but there was almost nobody there. It might have been again, like a weeknight situation, but it was right before she kind of gained some level of popularity. The show for this was pretty packed. That was good. To number 10. This is probably the least known thing of this whole bunch. This is of Montreal. I've seen them like, I don't know, over 20 times since 1999, so like over 20 times in 20 years. This is the album Coquelicot, Asleep in the Poppies, a variety of whimsical verse. What am I gonna say about these guys? They're really fun to see live. Like, even the earliest times I saw them, like right away, they do skits and they do like stuff that goes with the music. Yeah, the first time for on the Gay Parade, that album for that tour, there was just crazy. Yeah, I don't know. It kind of got further and further. Like he goes kind of takes David Bowie like stage theatrics and takes it as far as he can. Like comes on stage with a diaper. Hanging thing, like hangings, like maybe hanging babies? I can't remember. So at some point it gets a little bit out of hand, but he's an excellent guitar player, Kevin Barnes. That early band I thought was really good. I still thought, even a little bit after this, the band was still really good. They wound up doing more dancey, taking a lot of different influences. This is more like Beatles Who influenced, but on a twee vibe. I thought I had something else I was thinking about saying. Yeah, I think on that first, I mean, when we used to see them in the smaller venues, they would like come and sit down and have beers and hang out. And that first time, yeah, whatever. Of Montreal. That's 10. Yeah, I'll leave a link to that original video that Brian at Black Beans and Rice did. You can check that out. Like I say, there was a bunch of others that have done it. And this is easy kind of for me to, well, somewhat easy for me to do. So I thought I'd crank it out. I can see it's much longer than I had anticipated, but I guess it is 10 records and I am babbling. Appreciate you stopping out. I guess that ding means it's time for me to go. I'll be back with something a little more normal and, you know, whatever. Cheers.